Okay, guaranteed flop number one, ignore your audience. This is hopefully a no-brainer thing, but it's really fascinating. I will tell you, even at a marketing agency, I think sometimes we don't obsess over the audience as much as we could. And that's something we learn from every time. Okay, so ignoring your audience. I've got some quotes in this section. The great Seth Godin, don't find customers for your products, find products for your customers. What is he saying? If you obsess over your customers really well, it's amazing how your product, your offering, your marketing ends up kind of shaping itself. I mean, yes, there's a lot of work to do there, but it's amazing how instead of saying my product is important, let me go find the right people, or say I'm going to obsess over my audience and I'll learn a lot from them. Okay, so this is the kind of model we'll use for each of the flops. So what is the diagnostic? What's wrong when we ignore our audience? We probably skipped the personas in our strategy exercise. We don't understand our audience enough. A simple solution, easier said than done, by the way, on all these solutions that we're going to talk about. Get obsessed with knowing your target audience and their pain points. Personas as an exercise is a great way to do that. Some other kind of pieces of advice. Yes, it is cliche to know your audience, know your audience, know your audience, but I think we can always keep going, learning more and building more empathy for the people we're trying to market to. We sometimes use the term at Magneti, what I call the marketer's dilemma, which is the difference between us as marketers and the audience we're trying to market to. There is a gap there, and that gap is always larger than we think. And we tend to believe that they're a lot like us. I should just think the way I always think about everything on this project. And it's not true. There's always a gap between us and the audience we're trying to speak to. And that gap, if ignored, is a real problem. We call that the marketer's dilemma. The crazy thing about most marketers is that I think they're simultaneously humble and deeply confident at the same time. We have cool ideas and we use these models and frameworks. We've done these campaigns over and over and over again. But the numbers will decide. The market decides. The audience decides. And so it takes this kind of humble approach that I'm not the audience. I'm going to do my best to build great campaigns, but we'll measure it well, have a level of humility. And it's the marketers that are humble and fast about responding that tend to win, as opposed to those who dig their heels in. Segmenting your audience is a wildly difficult and wildly valuable exercise, especially if you have like a massive email list. Segmenting can be really hard to do. You just got a bunch of emails. How do I know who is what persona or where they came from? Going through one by one and trying to put names in categories is really difficult, but can create a lot of value. Segmenting is something we could talk about for hours on end, but just know that segmenting your audience is difficult, but great and bears fruit almost every time. So if you use the PCCPO framework, great persona work, here's what's fascinating about great persona work. It can tell you about channels, where these people tend to be, what they want to hear based on their pain points. It can tell you about maybe how you should think about your product in the future, developing a product for them, and offerings too. What are they going to want to respond to? Great persona work is kind of the first domino in a great strategy.